Okay, let's get started. Once again, welcome and thanks for joining today's session, Helping Your Congregation Access Inheritances, a webinar presented by Probate Cash. I'm your host, Molly Driscoll. Our presenters today are professionals with extensive experience in all aspects of providing cash advances to individuals and organizations awaiting inheritances or bequest payouts. Mark Harris has been working in the specialty finance industry for 25 years, involved in purchasing of over $100 million of assets. Most of his purchases pursuant to various state laws requiring court hearings, many of which Mark has either attended or appeared as counsel. As a result, Mark has the advantage of meeting customers, their lawyers, and establishing relationships to find collaborative solutions for the customers. Mark has spoken at numerous conferences and has been active in working to draft model legislation and adopted by many states in the country. Born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida, Mark earned his undergraduate degree from Florida State University and law degree from Nova Southeastern University in Florida in Fort Lauderdale. Mark is very active in his community and is an officer on an advisory board for a nonprofit organization. Mark, his wife, and 2 children reside in Parkland, Florida. Today, he's here to speak about the relatively new business of purchasing interest in the actively pending inheritance claims.
Thanks, Molly. First, welcome everyone. I'm going to apologize in advance for what will possibly look like a late night TV infomercial, but the goal is indeed to be informative. It looks like we have over 50 people in attendance today, representing houses of worship throughout the country. We're excited with the great turnout. As Molly said, as our website's title suggests, Probate Cash provides upfront money to beneficiaries or heirs who can't access their inheritance because it's tied up in the probate courts. We know that trusted advisors, whether they be clergy, lawyers, or financial advisors, should have all available tools in their toolbox.
What does Probate Cash do?
So we know the Probate Cash advances money to beneficiaries who are waiting for an estate to close in the probate court or other proceeding. Probate is the formal legal process that gives recognition to a will and appoints the executor or personal representative who will administer the estate and then distribute assets to the intended beneficiaries pursuant to the probate court's order. The probate process is often new to people and always takes much more time than anyone anticipated. Unlike old television shows where there's a public reading of the will and named beneficiaries walk away with money and personal items left by the decedent, the probate case ensures the creditors of the decedent have an opportunity to file claims against the estate and that other interested parties have an opportunity to potentially challenge the decedent's will. All of this takes time and money, while beneficiaries are usually the people caught in the middle.
What are some practical examples of how Probate Cash can help your congregants and other members of your community?
Thanks. You guys have probably at times had these exact conversations. A typical hypothetical would be a family member who's expecting an inheritance either pursuant to a will or succession law. The family member has bills that are due or needs money to keep the estate's home from defaulting on taxes or a mortgage. Or an estate home needs repairs to prepare the home for sale. The probate case may not have even been filed yet, or was filed and is waiting for the creditor's claim period to end, meaning that not only is the estate many months or years away from closing, but there's still time for creditors of the decedent to make their own financial claims against the estate. Probate Cash, at our expense, will obtain the public records of the probate case and underwrite the file to determine whether the family member will qualify for an advance. Within 24 hours, Probate Cash will determine how much in an advance we can pay based on our underwriting. Probate Cash waits the many months or years for the estate to close before we're repaid, while the family member has the money he or she needs to meet his or her own financial obligations.
What's an example when someone has inherited a house or property?
So often an estate has a home or other property that must be sold before the beneficiaries can receive the inheritance. Especially in the case of an estate's home, mortgages and taxes must be kept current to save that home. In other cases, the home needs repair work so the estate can sell the home and receive fair market value. Probate Cash provides advances to beneficiaries that often save the estate's home from foreclosure or allows the estate home to be sold so the beneficiaries can receive their inheritance.
When should I refer a person to get an advance from Probate Cash?
So not really if, but when members of your congregation or community find themselves unable or unwilling to wait for the probate case to conclude in order to access their inheritance, you can now refer them to Probate Cash. Probate Cash literally advances the money today, then waits for the probate case to conclude before being repaid the advance and applicable fee. And we take all the risk that you would expect. In the event no inheritance is paid, we don't get paid, and our customer is not legally obligated to pay us back. To be clear, Probate cash provides a portion of the anticipated inheritance from a will upfront to our customer. We review the probate case filed in the courts and quickly determine the amount of money we can advance. From there, probate cash takes the risk and waits out the time until the estate's assets are ordered to be distributed by the probate court. If for any reason there's not enough money in the estate for a customer to repay us, probate cash simply won't be repaid that shortfall. Any such shortfall will not affect other beneficiaries of the estate. Those other beneficiaries will still receive whatever they were entitled to receive, provided the estate has the money to pay them at the end of the probate. Simply put, the fact that one beneficiary agrees to receive an advance from us will absolutely have no adverse effect on the estate's other beneficiaries or even the probate lawyer for the estate. In fact, many probate lawyers now refer anxious heirs of the estate to probate cash where there used to not be any other option than to wait out the many months or years of the probate court process.
How is this different from a loan?
Those traditional loans are what's called recourse transactions, meaning that those loans must be repaid, even if it turns out that claims or other issues against the estate reduce or wipe out an expected inheritance. A borrower must usually have collateral, such as a home, business, or other assets that a lender can foreclose on if the loan isn't repaid. Unlike traditional lenders, however, probate cash does not charge an interest rate because these advances are not loans. They're not loans because one, the advances are not secured by any property or other assets, and two, probate cash has no recourse against our customer in the event we're not repaid. As mentioned earlier, probate cash assumes the risk on non-repayment. For example, if it turns out that our customer would not have received a penny from the estate because the estate's assets were significantly less than anticipated, the customer keeps the advance it received, and probate cash does not demand repayment or repayment.
Who qualifies to receive an advance from probate cash?
Basically, anyone or any entity that's anticipating an inheritance from an estate is eligible. We've discussed family members and other individuals who are beneficiaries of an estate, but churches are often named beneficiaries themselves. When a church or other nonprofit's been given a gift through a decedent's will, that gift is tied up in probate court just like any other inheritance. And just like any other beneficiary, a church can use our services to obtain an advance against its inheritance. And one of those such tools available to heirs includes knowing that pending bequests that are tied up in probate court can be partially liquidated if needed by your congregates or even your church. Simply put, if nobody needs immediate cash, that's optimal. But if your congregates do have immediate needs for money, we believe you should know that probate cash is an available option. In conclusion, we can't overemphasize the incredible and vital work faith-based leaders do with their congregation, especially during the more difficult times such as end-of-life issues. We know that these difficult times include the grieving process and the importance of faith to help guide us through these times. When the difficult times also include the need to access inheritance money during the long probate process, knowing that you can refer people to probate cash is yet another tool that may prove to be a practical solution to your congregate's immediate financial problems. And finally, remember that we're also able to provide access to specific bequests to your own church or to other nonprofit organizations where the gift may be tied up.
Wow, well, we're already at that 15-minute mark. And as promised, the presenters will stay on to answer your questions. So if you need to leave now, we'll be sending everyone a link to the recording of this presentation and the questions and answers. So if you want to ask any questions offline, please contact Mark Harris. You can call him at 561-476-0018 or email him at mark, that's MARC, at probatecash.com. Now, what if the will gets thrown out? Does the customer have to repay the advance?
If a will is challenged or at the end of the day is thrown out, that's a risk that we take. So remember, we take all the risk. That's part of our underwriting. That's part of our business. That includes a will being thrown out. It includes claims such as from a tax agency or healthcare, any of the usual claims, which those are usual claims that could make an inheritance be not received, or certainly not the amount anticipated, would be a lot less received.
And I think you touched on this, but it's so important. I think we should mention again, how fast does this process move along? How fast can you work? How long does it take?
So yeah, it is important to know, because when people need our services, they usually need money right away. So as soon as we get a phone call, the first thing we do is we take a look at the probate case that's filed, or whatever the situation may be. Sometimes it's not even filed yet. And within 24 hours, we're able to make a decision on the amount of the advance that we would pay. So the money would then go to the beneficiary, to your congregant, whomever is anticipating the inheritance. And again, we don't get paid back until the estate is distributed, which in our case is often about a year after we're doing business with our customers.
It looks like we're actually almost about to time, and I think we got everyone's questions. But again, if there's anything more confidential or case specific, please reach out to. You can reach out to Mark at probatecash.com. That's MARC@probatecash, or you can call him at 561-476-001. And thank you so much for joining us today.